Greetings, everyone. Keith here. Hoping everyone's having a good day. Enjoying life, living life, loving life. Be sure to hit those buttons to show your support. And there's a PayPal link below for anyone that wants to share some love. All is appreciated.
Accounted for, my name's been read, written in the ledger where the lamb was led. Did not the body, did not the blood, pay every debt in the flood of love? So tell me now, what's left to owe? When mercy calls, I can't say no. Are we too old? No man just grace erase what the law might bring. If love's the all, then love fulfills all that binds all their wills. The silver spend, the temples fall, but the heart still whispers through it all. Render to God what is divine, and what remains is only mine. So tell me now, what's mine to keep when every truth cuts dark and deep? Are we all knowing anything? Does the blood absolve the suffering? If love's the law, then I am free. But is that law the law of me? Sold. If I am dust, I still am gold. The measure's met, the balance true. No doubt remains, save love for you. To owe no man anything, did not the Christ pay everything? The law fulfilled, the veil torn through. Now the law of me is loving you.
And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, and loving life, of course. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal link down below for anybody who would like to share some love. All is appreciated. And Bad Barney says he got an email saying I have a $5.99 charge on my PayPal account. Called the number. It was Apple Customer Care in India, idiot. I don't have PayPal. I love those. I love those. So tonight we're going to get into some more of the criminal actions that many people want to call corruption. And the first one we've got lined up is a gal named Jessica Saxton. And she's been going around to various different boards and giving them legal notice in public forums and handing over affidavits with that legal notice. This is proper process. Pay attention to what she's saying. This is what I've been saying for 10 years in my research. And like I'm telling you tonight and have said many times here recently, it is systemic, and they want to call it corruption. I call it criminal. Pay attention.
You swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution, just like the judges, just like your sheriff, just like all the deputies. You all swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution. That's why you're sitting where you're sitting. So because this commission is allocating funds that enable these courts and state actors to operate and continuing to fund these unconstitutional practices.
See, it's the commission that is funding it, and it is the commission that is funding it off of your tax dollars. As you consistently say across the board, every last one of you that votes says that your vote counts. This is what it counts for. And like I said, it's systemic across the board. It's your tax dollars. You're the ones that pay taxes, not me. I haven't paid taxes in 20 years, and I paid them for only a few years. Before that, I still didn't pay taxes, not the way you people pay taxes. I paid it directly to community charitable through a direct community charitable contribution from my businesses.
Unfortunately, you are being placed at risk of being implicated in the
which kept it local and helped support the local economy, once again, where it's strongest.
ongoing violations. So I'm asking you to immediately withhold any county funding that allows for these judges and the sheriff's department to continue to remove these children unlawfully. That supports or enables these actions. And lastly, you were provided a notice earlier, but I'm actually serving you.
And what she's talking about there in removal of children is that they're using family courts, private judges, and this and that, and it's all fraudulent. It's all to hide the bookworks and everything, and it's based on your belief. You have to believe that what they're doing is true, and the only way you can believe it is by not knowing. Therefore, left to the source that you have to believe it. Otherwise, you got to get off your ass and do your research so you can know. This is why I tell you, don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government. And for crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your own research so you know. And when you do the research, you find out she's reiterating the same things I've been saying for the last 10 years. Title 4D contract fraud. I beat child support and child custody both because I knew it. Now it's finally being spread out. This is the message. See, it's not about me. It's about everybody getting involved because you think your vote counts and then it counts against you. It works against you in everything you do. The driver's license, the public education, your marriage, you're having children and having that birth certificate and all that. If you understood what all that paperwork was and how fictional and false it really is and how errored it is, because the concept is that it applies to certain people and you're just voluntarily signing up as if though you know, because you're left to the device of believing because you haven't done your research.
Tonight, I'm serving you with affidavits of criminal complaints against 5 judges in this county. Actually, I think there's more. There's 5 affidavits here, but there's more judges that are listed on this. And these are judges. Now, these criminal affidavits, affidavits of criminal complaints, these are prima facie evidence, which means that that these people, these individuals are willing to testify before a federal court that the things that they're saying are true and accurate. So I'm serving you with these affidavits of criminal conspiracy. Please remember that our children are not for sale. Our parents and our families, they are not just a revenue stream for you guys. And Title 4D is not a revenue stream for you guys. No system that is able to profit off of the destruction of families should morally be able to exist in this nation, and certainly doesn't have the constitutional authority to exist. So service has been provided. The law does require you to act under 18 U.S.C. subsection 4. That's misprision of felony. Thank you.
See, what they're doing is mechanizing a social conditioning in the American society that provides for a supply chain based on their demand to monetize it. And that's the Title 4D fraud. No, you have to recognize your equity in it. See, a lot of people don't understand that the person is the debtor and you're the creditor in all cases. Without you signing a document, that event would not happen. When you sign the documents, that's when you've partaken in that system. If you don't know what that document says, and you're basing it on belief, like again, you believe in this patriarch that is going to work for you and it's going to benefit you, when now you're admitting that you're retired, drawing Social Security, slave to the system. And that's what they want you to believe in. You know, there's all kinds of things in there. And what gets deposited in that Social Security system is a tax, or an insurance credit. See, it's all about insurance and it's all prepaid. None of it would be paid without you. Without you, there would be no debt. They wouldn't create the legal name based on your existence. That's on them. They created the debtor, and he gives credence in this Christian society for all you believers to your word as long as you follow the truth. That's what gives credit to things. And it is discredited once you find errors, omissions, lies, manipulations, things like that that just don't fit. And that's why the integrity of the record is so imperative. And if you don't understand simple errors, you won't be able to point them out. And that's all it takes. The simple error is it's not required. You're volunteering. That's on you. So the next one I've got, the insanity of the authority that you're volunteering for.
Are you cussing me? Get your supervisor. Sir. No, sir. Louis. Oh, shit. Oh, hey, help, help.
He came to film a public space. Then one officer threatens to shoot him while another just watches like nothing was wrong. When it was over, the only words...
Yeah, see, that's bad enough that you see this officer doing what he's doing, reaching for a gun because somebody cussed at him after he threatened to shoot him. Where is it in the tactical training that an officer threatened to shooting a cameraman?
Words he heard were, "I didn't see what happened."
I mean, I'm not going to the courtroom or anything. Of course you can. Of course you can, sir. Yes, you can.
See, this is the guy that's supposed to know the law, wearing he's got a emblazoned badge type embroidery thing on his shirt here. He's all holstered up with pepper spray and other things, as well as a gun, a firearm, a lethal weapon. And this is what you vote in. And this is what you think has authority over you, that you vote in somehow. In your social conditioning, believing that somebody can just pick and choose other people to have authority over you, and you have no say in it. You don't even know this guy, and somehow he poses he's got authority over you. How does that work in this Christian society? How does this legal system really work? Does it work for you? Are you going to back the blue until it happens to you?
Why not? Because why?
It's a court of law. It's not. You go out now and go get any other.
Is this a federal building?
No, it's not federal. It's county.
Oh, then I would like to come in and check out the public areas of the building then. Why not?
You bring cameras in.
Of course you can, sir.
No, you cannot.
I'm telling you, you can.
I tell you, call my supervisor.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna let me call my supervisor, right? What happened to the supervisor? See, that's my question right there. He started doing the right thing. Most people would ask to see the supervisor. He's telling the other guy before he asked for it that I'm going to call my supervisor. Great, do that.
Yeah, you might want to do that.
I've already had a bunch of people taking cameras.
I don't care. I don't care about other people.
Yeah, we've already had multiple people taking cameras into places. I don't care. That's not me. And just because they did it doesn't mean you can violate my rights and prevent me from doing so.
Sir, don't pull your gun out on me.
Shoot.
Oh my God. Serious? Oh, seriously, dude?
If I pull my gun out, I'm going to shoot you. If I pull my gun out, I'm going to shoot you.
That's the best way.
Get your supervisor here.
Are you cussing me?
Get your fucking supervisor here. Are you cussing me? See how well, and now he's going to come out the door. Who's escalating here?
Get your supervisor. Sir, no, sir.
As he reaches behind him, right? What's he doing here?
No, sir. Call 911. Hey, come here. Come here. I need help right now. I need help. Seriously, I need.
An officer facing a guy with a camera. And he's going to draw a weapon or feign that he's going to draw a weapon after he threatens he's going to shoot him if he draws it. Where do these people come from? Why do you still have faith that these people are doing their job? How is this man doing his job? Is his job now out on the public sidewalk as an internal security guard? As the man was already outside and he already started shutting the door, then he escalates again from inside. Now he's going to bring it out into the public square.
Freaking help. I need help. He said he's going to shoot me.
I'm looking right at him. He didn't open the door.
Inside.
He said it inside.
Yes.
Inside?
Yes, he said he's going to shoot me and kill me.
Oh, I said that. I think you're lying.
Please, I need help.
Oh, I'm hurt. Handcuffs on.
No, you're not. Louis. Oh.
All I'm going to do is put handcuffs on you. See, he already has an intent and he has no crime. He's basing everything on his feelers and not knowing the law. Where the fuck do they think they can keep getting away with hiring these kind of people? You're the one that keeps allowing it. You're the one that won't confront it. You're going to keep back in the blue until it happens to you.
Oh shit! Oh my God! Hey, help! Hey, get him! He grabbed her!
No!
You can't do that!
Get off my stuff! Get off my stuff!
Absolutely correct. What does she have to do with it now? She's merely got a camera. Now he's going after her simply because she's got a camera. She had no verbal communication with this guy.
Stop!
Dude!
Get off my stuff!
And there's the other officer standing by watching it happen, saying he didn't see anything.
Stop! Get
I didn't see what happened. You most certainly did.
off my stuff! Bam. What the heck? He's grabbing all of my stuff!
Go with my arm.
Get off my stuff, motherfucker! What the fuck was up with him?
So this guy actually grabbed this woman, and while he had a hold of him or a hold of her, the other officer come up and put his hand on her elbow. So they both had hands on her, yet he didn't even see it.
Him. Get back! I will defend
One
myself.
more time. One more time.
You touched her!
Grab me, motherfucker! Get off me! I will defend myself, sir!
You'll calm down.
Can you get him off me?
Put your phone down.
Sir, can you get him off me?
Sir, I'm existing in a public place with a camera, working on a story. I'm a journalist. He's flipping out and trying to arrest me.
Did you see him grab me?
I didn't see what happened.
I didn't see what happened. She asked, did you see him grab me? I didn't see what happened. You were right there and had your hands on her the exact same time he had his on her. These guys should both be fired.
He just grabbed me by the damn hair, sir.
No,
I
I saw
literally
that,
walked
but I
up.
didn't see what happened.
I didn't see what happened. You were standing 3-4 feet away. So close that you took one step and you were already at her elbow. People going to wake up? How about the next one?
The indictment alleges that on October 28, 2025, at approximately 5 p.m., Officer Robert Parks drove to Wiley Liquors Bar, located at 3101 Wiley Avenue in Baltimore City, state of Maryland, while several individuals were standing on the sidewalk. Officer Parks then exited his vehicle and approached the civilians. He stated, "It's getting a little hot, guys. I just need you guys to take a lap, you know." In response, one of the individuals began to walk away.
Which is exactly what the officer requested him to do. You think these people are working for you?
As the other individuals walked away,
Which is exactly what the officer asked them all to do.
Officer Parks got back into his patrol vehicle and drove a brief distance westbound on Wiley Avenue, stopping along the curb to the right of the first person who had left the liquor store corner. Officer Parks called the individual by name to come over, then got out of his vehicle again. He stated,
So we already have a recognition of one of them for sure because he called him by name.
"Don't make it worse. I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm going to be straight up. You got to come." Officer Parks motioned his index finger to indicate that the individual should walk towards him.
I'm going to be straight up with you. You got to come. And then waved him over. Who the fuck is you? You ain't got no reason to be telling me to come over to you. In fact, you just asked me to walk away, and then when I did, now you're telling me I got to come back. Where the fuck are you people confused? How much more evidence do you need?
The individual said no, turned, and walked away. As the person walked away, Officer Parks yelled out again, "All right, I'm going to call the dogs and come get you."
So we have a threat. Despite no mention of any criminal activity whatsoever after he specifically asked them to walk away.
As the person was walking away on a paved driveway, Officer Parks returned to the vehicle, his patrol vehicle, and stated over the radio, "I have one running adult male in the alley." Officer Parks proceeded to drive.
I have one running. After he specifically stated that he turned around and walked away.
His police cruiser onto a paved driveway directly at the individual and with increasing speed. The person ran to his left into a grassy area to avoid being struck. Officer Parks steered his police vehicle directly at the man and struck him in the grassy area.
You guys hear that? Want me to replay that?
And with increasing speed. The person ran to his left into a grassy area to avoid being struck. Officer Parks steered his police vehicle directly at the man and struck him in the grassy area. The person ran to his left into a grassy area to avoid being struck. Officer Parks steered his police vehicle directly at the man and struck him in the grassy area.
And these are your officers, and this is the use of force they will use simply because they want you to talk to them, even though they have no reasonable articulable suspicion. This does not sound like enforcing the law to me at all. How much evidence do you need?
After being hit, the man ran away from the patrol car and then towards Wiley Avenue. Officer Parks continued to drive at the man, who then ran onto the sidewalk and between a utility pole and a fence. Officer Parks then drove his vehicle onto the sidewalk and between the utility pole and fence directly at the man and struck him in the grassy area. After the old car and then towards Wiley Avenue, Officer Parks continued to drive at the man, who then ran onto the sidewalk and between a utility pole and a fence. Officer Parks then drove his vehicle onto the sidewalk and between the utility pole and fence directly at the man. He continued to drive at the man, who then ran onto the sidewalk and between a utility pole and a fence. Officer Parks then drove his vehicle onto the sidewalk and between the utility pole and fence directly at the man.
Now that to me sounds like a crazed woman scorned. Gonna go chasing after a man on foot in a vehicle, down alleys, across grass, along the sidewalk. Is this the police tactical training? Where does this guy get this? How much evidence do you need?
The individual then ran towards an alleyway behind residences and businesses. Officer Parks made a U-turn and drove down the same alley, plowing through a stationary chain link fence and into the backyard of 3129 Sumter Avenue.
Paved driveways, alleys, across the grass, along sidewalks. And what we have here, through a fence and into a private backyard. Do you guys see? You guys hear what's going on? How much evidence do you need? This is just one officer.
Nearly striking the man and causing him to jump over a fence to avoid being hit. Let me be clear. The actions we saw in that video of Officer Parks are entirely unacceptable.
So my question is, why does it have to get to that state before we realize they're entirely unacceptable to even enforce the law? I mean, where is this line being drawn for hiring people to enforce the law if they don't know the law? Where is the line? Is it a moral and ethical line? Is it a statutory line of some sort? Is it a class line? You know, do you have to have so much money, or do you have to come from a family of officers? What is this line that determines for you people that these officers have authority over you? Where are you getting this from? The next one, Karen Reed. I don't know if you're familiar with Karen Reed, but Karen Reed is a extensive case that's been going on, and she was found innocent, and now she's filed a civil suit. So let's listen in on the civil suit here.
We're also following breaking news in the Karen Reed saga. Reed has filed a sweeping civil lawsuit against members of law enforcement and people who testified against her in her murder trials. Let's get right over to investigative reporter Ted Daniel. Ted?
Hi, Ray. We just pulled the suit off mass courts a short time ago. It's huge, 46 pages. I'm still going through it now. Let's start with the defendants in this case. Reed is suing.
And just let me know if you want to come up, guys. I'll drop the link.
3 members of law enforcement, former state police detective Michael Proctor, his then direct supervisor, Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, and MSP Lieutenant Brian Tolley. 5 people who testified against Reed are also named: Brian Albert, his wife Nicole, Jennifer McCabe, her husband Matthew, and ATF agent Brian Higgins. Reed is seeking damages, to recover damages from what she says was 3.5 years of being, quote, wrongly accused of John O'Keefe's death. This suit pulls heavily from Reed's defense in her murder trials. She alleges John O'Keefe was not hit by a car, but was actually killed inside the Albert home during a late-night fight. O'Keefe was found with a massive head injury outside that home in Canton. Reed alleges people inside the house, quote, concocted a plan, unquote, to avoid and blame and, quote, frame her. As for law enforcement, Reed claims, quote, they permitted would-be witnesses to communicate with each other and coordinate their stories before any formal interviews, unquote.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing, huh? See, that's the issue is the law is for thee, but not for me. So when it comes to ex parte communications, if you don't understand what that is, that's George Carlin. It's a private club and you ain't in it. Okay? It's them talking about everything behind the doors so that they can get their story together and make it sound better than yours. This is letting other people write your story with their fucking pen. This is why it's important to speak out. Quit letting other people mold you as if though you're part of their group. Group think safe spaces, and everybody's a fucking elephant in the room. Pathetic.
And, quote, allowed critical evidence to be manipulated in some instances and outright destroyed in others, unquote. Reed's suit comes one day after the McCabe's, Alberts, and Brian Higgins filed paperwork stating their intent to sue her and her most aggressive supporter, Aidan Carney, a.k.a. Turtle Boy. Their suit calls Reed's proposed claims against them a vile work of fiction and a ploy to, quote, defame and wrongly malign them. Still going through all the paperwork, and we'll be updating this story throughout the day. I'm investigative reporter Ted.
So defame and wrongly malign them. So I got to ask first question. I love this question is, where's your fame? What makes you so fucking famous? See, again, this is the displacement of, that popularity contest, the group think safe spaces, the displacement of something of real value as if though that's what it is, your fame. And therefore that's why people should listen to you, because you have some kind of authority and that makes you famous. See, that's the part I don't get. So the next one we got is Phoenix police officer indicted in crash. Another wonderful tale of I'm innocent. The law is for thee and not for me.
Phoenix police say 31-year-old officer Joshua
When many times it's obvious to see.
Woodcock was just indicted by a grand jury for aggravated assault and endangerment. And in a statement tonight, police officials said that they focus on transparency when standards are not met and holding officers accountable. We reached out.
When standards are not met and holding officers accountable. How many times are we going to hear this and still see exactly what we've been seeing? How long are we going to believe that we can hold officers accountable when we can't even hold them accountable to know the fucking law?
For more information about this crash, including requesting a picture of the officer involved, but the department refused to provide it.
Ironic. One potential option is the police aren't really being transparent for BS reasons. Another.
Let me know if you want me to drop the link, girl.
Potential option is there's laws or regulations that are preventing them from being totally transparent and releasing the name and photo, etc. But in that case, the laws and the regulations are stupid. Or maybe there's a third option. Who knows? At the end of the day, the police are funded with stolen money in the form of taxes. So I think we're entitled.
With stolen money in the form of taxes. Remember, we talked about the commission earlier, using the taxes. That's where they get all of their funds, is from taxes. And that's you guys, the ones paying the taxes voluntarily. Taxes are voluntary. Understand this. And they're using those coffers to fund the very court system that's taking advantage of you and taking all those other funds that you're trying to save up, because they already know you don't know what's going on because you're voluntarily doing everything. In order for a court to obtain personal jurisdiction, the plaintiff must serve the defendant in the court in which the state rests, and the defendant needs to voluntarily appear in court. Understand that. And that's in their words. I pulled it up many times. Just look up personal jurisdiction on LIIWEX. I only have 2 people blocked here, and there's specific, of course, just reasons for that. So there's a link.
to as much information and transparency as possible.
Records show it was just after midnight and Woodcock was going 89 miles per hour down the strip. Police say he was on duty, but they didn't specify if he was rushing to a 911 call or if this was just a case of speeding.
Well, regardless, you generally need your emergency lights and maybe sirens on when going to an emergency that requires you to break the normally applicable traffic laws. And given that
Bingo, particularly what they say, 89 miles an hour.
this cop was charged, I'm assuming he probably wasn't doing that, so it's probably irrelevant why he was speeding.
Documents say this blue Honda Civic with 3 people inside was going 19 miles per hour, turning left to get onto the Black Canyon Freeway. As that car was turning, Woodcock tried to brake and swerve out of the way, slamming into the Civic at 72 miles per hour. The impact so severe, the cruiser flipped and slammed into a bridge barrier. Those 3 people were initially taken to the hospital, but were later released.
You may think the cop speeding isn't that big of a deal, but as this case shows, it was almost fatal. And if it had been fatal, we'd probably be talking about much more serious charges, something like involuntary manslaughter. Stuff like this happens all the time, and again, it might not seem like a big deal, all the cops speeding or breaking minor laws, but it's emblematic of a larger problem, the culture and mindset of the police.
Very much so. The culture and mindset of the police. This is what I say. It's systemic. It's a cultural development. It's a cultural conditioning. A lot of these people, I guarantee you, many of the people that get the jobs they do, even attorneys, take them on with a certain tone of enchantment. And again, particularly when Dad was a police officer, you take it on with an enchantment. And then when you see the reality of it, and you look into that part of the abyss of life, where you think you're among other people that are just as honorable and integrable, and you see how that fabric just falls apart, and it's so weak, like charred cloth, you touch it and it crumbles. See, that's not the true fabric of morals and ethics. And these people end up, like I said, with that enchantment in these jobs. They want to be that hero. I can see that. But when they get in there, all of a sudden now it's job suicide, career suicide, if they say anything about the darkness they see. And it's pathetic weakness for somebody that thinks he's a hero. Of course, that's just my opinion. Links down there if you want to hop up, guys.
Police, rules for thee, but not for me. The cop is on duty in a police car, and he's doing a job that includes the ability to stop people for speeding, for doing exactly what he is doing. The police released a statement, and some of it says that this is a serious matter. Our officers are expected to uphold the same laws they enforce, and when standards are not met, we have an obligation to act. Our responsibility to the community requires that we address the situation openly and directly. Pretty boilerplate. It's pretty much the exact same statement we get anytime there's any sort of police misconduct, from minor things to major things. But do you even think this statement is true? If this hadn't resulted in a crash and someone reported the cop for speeding, do you really think?
Absolutely. That's a serious question. See, it's just a reiteration over time and again, and there's really no progress. If there was true progress, you'd think we'd have a remedy to this by now, but here we are, eons into it, and people still don't have a remedy for comprehending the true authority and where it comes from. Greetings, brother. How you doing tonight? You there? Hello? Yeah, you must be having problems. Stop back in if you can.
Something would have been done about it, either right away or at all. Cops breaking traffic laws or speed limits unjustifiably in police cars happens a lot. Take this one example from several years ago.
We track speeding police cruisers on ABC's 2020. So this guy's going well over 80 right now. Off-duty cops gutting it to places like, well, the donut shop. Oh, wow, he did 3 lanes at once. Or the office. A lot of folks want to see you set an example, and if you're going about 15, 20 miles over the speed limit, there might be some concern. I don't understand what you're saying.
Evidently, they got him at the donut shop getting the coffee.
And look at the back of his shirt. He's a driving instructor.
Oh, even better, huh? Even better, huh? Fucking driving instructor. Greetings, brother. Greetings, brother. How you guys doing tonight?
Greetings.
So what do you think about that, guys? A driving instructor at best. And he's the one shifting 3 lanes at one with no turn signal, nothing on his way, speeding 20 miles an hour over, speeding on his way to the donut shop to get himself a coffee.
It just like, I mean, in some way it blows my mind, right? Because it's like that driving instructor, and then somehow that guy in his brain goes, I can do all of this, and just gets like you would think he's getting humbled, but in some way, I don't even think he takes it as being humbled.
Exactly. That's my point. Because in the end, at the end of the day, this is so minor in most perspectives that, hey, he was just speeding. You know what the hey. But when you look at it, like I said, it's systemic. And when I say it's systemic across the board, I mean it's systemic in every officer and in everything they do, even at home. You hear this adage that you think most of them are abusive. That tends to seem to be true. I'm not going to say it is or not, but see, again, it's systemic across the board because it's innate that a man is much weaker and cowardice to a social conditioning under a career suicide situation where he's dependent on that job to take care of his family. And that's an issue. I was talking on a panel earlier. The foundation of a government is based on the family structure, and a strong family structure throughout the nation proves that it's a strong nation. But here today, we have a nation that's destroying the family foundation. And that's what we have to stand up to. We have to quit paying tribute to this false patriarch and understand our true authority. And it certainly doesn't come from some pig's cunt. People in government servitude can't understand normal thinking standards.
Well, I think a lot of it too is it comes on I almost want to say an educational or a mindset, because it's like when you're talking about strength, you have to have that internal, also mental. And to follow orders that are unjust, you can't be a morally strong character.
Correct. And that's what I'm talking about with the social conditioning. Over time, social conditioning has gotten to the point where what's his name couldn't even kneel at a football game and not get slack about it. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a football player that decided he wasn't going to stand for the flag and pledge allegiance to the flag anymore. So he knelt. And when we get so conditioned that we believe some symbolic red, white, blue flag is something that we take so serious in our life that we let it move us from our moral and ethical principles in a spiritual foundation, then there's something really to think about. And I think that's what a lot of people missed out in that message, because they are so indoctrinated to this false patriarch. They refuse to believe that a single man could have more authority than this entire nation. Where does this nation get its fucking authority from first? If not for every breath that takes its breath, or every person that takes a breath and breathes life into it. Otherwise, it's just the paperwork. It's the record, and that's it. Where does that authority come from?
He's a driving instructor.
All the ones that I'm not calling the feeds out have been over 80.
The big hurry for those Washington State cops? A training conference.
Ah, yes, even better when cops training other cops on how to drive and act are speeding. Again, you may think I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but if you or I speed, we get pulled over, and the threat of force is either explicit or implicit in that detainment. Police on duty don't have the same incentives that we do to follow traffic laws, because who's going to hold them to account? Themselves? Their friends? Now back to the original case.
We're still working to figure out when Woodcock is due back in court.
Best case scenario for this cop that I can think of is he was responding to an emergency but just forgot to turn on his lights or something like that. But again, where's his incentive to make sure that he does that? What's undergirding all of this is probably, at least in part, the culture and mindset that I mentioned earlier.
I have
now
a
let's look at what the
question.
cop was charged with.
I have a question. You hear this a lot, but I'm wondering if in these police and the way they're doing something, can you see where I would think that somewhere there's stolen valor in there when these people are claiming they're heroes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yet they
That's
do
what
those things.
Well, that's what I'm pointing out with the enchantment and everything. And then once they get in there, they become disenchanted because they see the darkness and they have to put up with the darkness. Otherwise, it's career suicide. So they slowly get molded and conditioned into doing the exact same thing that they initially got in there to prevent. It only exists because good men do nothing about it. They know they're entering the ring. They know the corruption exists, and they want, and a lot of them platform on that very concept that they're going to, fight against that corruption, and they succumb to it. That's the first thing they do is they succumb to it because they need a paycheck. How is that a value system that you can take with integrity. I don't I take it with integrity at all. The dollar means nothing to me.
I know, and they also try to. I watched some video the other day, and a court thing where a girl was in court because the officer wanted her identification because it was her story, and she was questioning what he was doing, and she was like disagreeing with it, and the policeman wanted her identification only to turn her in to the corporation she worked for to complain to try to get her fired from her job.
That's an impressive extension of authority, don't you think?
Right.
I mean that's what I talk about with this popularity contest. People think that because the officer is supposed to be a hero, then they should treat him as a hero, you know, and therefore he didn't do anything wrong, and you should shame the other person. That's the only concept for it. And we hear the adage now that's getting quite old and repetitive now is you back the blue until it happens to you.
Aggravated assault and endangerment charges. This will vary state to state, but generally, assault is unjustifiably putting someone in immediate apprehension of harmful or offensive contact, and battery is the actual contact itself. However, in Arizona, it looks like they define things a little differently. And in this case, the assault charge is aggravated assault, so that is essentially a heightened version of normal assault. And I think aggravated assault in Arizona is generally a felony. I'm not sure.
And here it says that, oops, intentionally assault classification, a person commits assault by intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly causing any physical injury to another person. So it's recklessly, because he got in a wreck, so it's recklessly causing physical injury.
Is generally a felony. I'm not sure if these are the exact statutes he was charged with, but it looks like they could be. I didn't include the entire statutory text because there's a lot of it, but here's part of it. Also, I have a bit of a tangent on how laws apply differently if the victim is a cop. States tend to make crimes like assault or battery more severe if they are done against a police officer. Do you think?
Right, and this is what I'm talking about. When are you going to stand up to your own accountability and start holding these officers and those that are countersigning for them and co-signing and everything? When are you going to start holding all of them accountable in their capacities? Like the lady mentioned earlier, she's going to the Board of Commissions and she's giving them legal notice that they're going to come after the commission if they don't do something about the judges that are named in the affidavit. They're bringing indictments by pursuant to the Fifth Amendment for constitutional violations, and that is the proper process. Notice, lawful notice is the first duty in law.
That's fair or a good idea? Should cops matter any more than a normal citizen? Should they be more important? There are arguments like it helps cops to carry out their duties and their dangerous jobs where people are more likely to attack them more safely because there's more incentive for people not to harm them. But do you find arguments like this sufficient to justify the disparity? If anything, it makes more sense to make a crime more severe when it's a cop who assaults a citizen, because when police...
Yes, the standard for the ones upholding the law should be held up to its utmost. They are the ones that know the law, supposedly, right? But you see how it works now?
Right. They're really, actually, they try to change it to the law enforcers, right? Because they used to be called like, you're supposed to be keeping the peace, and then they call, no, I'm a law enforcer. And that should make it even more of a duty upon themselves to pay attention.
Yeah, and that's
right.
yeah, and that's the whole irony of it, is that because they don't know the law and yet they're being used to enforce the law, they're not being held accountable. It's almost like a plausible deniability, and like I've been saying, it's not necessarily them, it's the people that you're voting into office that allow it. So again, it comes down to your ultimate accountability for the people that you're putting into those offices. Maybe some of you good upstanding men and women should, and I don't particularly prefer women in government, but there are certain instances it might be okay. But for the general concept, it's time for those good men to step up and start filling those offices. Go ahead.
I was thinking about what you were saying earlier, though. It's almost like that revolving door is a tough one just for, let's say, normal people who vote in people, or whether you want to get voted in, because you can go in there thinking, man, this is the way I'm going to do it. It's going to be moral. I'm going to be upright. And then you get in there and you're like, holy cow, this is going to be a career suicide if I speak up against what's happening next to me.
That's why I say it's not supposed to be a matter of career. It's a matter of being able to put forth your public service. And when you get in that office, what did Trump do? He didn't take emoluments, did he?
Commit crimes under the color of law with a badge to back them up, that to me makes the crime way more severe. The disparity here is ultimately between people and the state. And I'm not talking about how this applies to the case here. This is just a tangent on this concept in general. Now, there are instances where laws tend to heighten the severity of crimes under certain circumstances where it's the government harming people. I'm just saying that heightening of severity makes more sense in general than heightening the severity when it's the citizens transgressing against the government. Also, getting back to my earlier point where I said if
which is what they do. See, this is the process of that plea agreement. They will charge you at the max. They will maximize things and then try to get you to plead down to something smaller while still being more than what you should have gotten to begin with. And Bad Barney No Bullet says it's not knowing the law. Law is self-evident. Uphold the Constitution you don't have to know. Man's law. Yeah, it's what I talk about with the id, the instinctual drive. Your instincts are your gut telling you what's right and wrong. And it's usually instantaneous. People don't pay attention to it, though.
There's no crash here and someone reported this cop for speeding, do you think anything would have been done about it? It reminds me of a case I posted the other day where a guy recorded a cop because he alleged that the cop was speeding, and then the cop decides to arrest this guy. Well, he got released after his supervisor showed up.
Hi, how are you? Good. Everything okay? Yep. Can I get your name and badge number? For what? What? For what? What do you need? So I know who I'm making a complaint against. For what? For speeding. Okay. License, registration, proof of insurance. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Because now you're. No, I'm doing nothing. If you're gonna start. If you're gonna start, you get your sergeant over here. You ain't getting my license. You ain't getting my license. You ain't getting nothing. Okay. Then I will arrest you for obstruction. You do that, buddy, and I'll sue the out of Adams County.
Deputy Berlinski cuffs and then
And what he did there, that's Fourth Amendment violation. See his hand on the door handle here. This is him putting him into the squad car, I believe. But he also put his hand on the guy's truck and opened his truck door to remove him. That's a Fourth Amendment violation wherein the people have a right to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. So his truck would be in effect. And they violated the Fourth Amendment in blatantly just opening him his vessel. See, vessel would technically be like a temple. And see, that's the problem here. Nobody understands this kind of language. And so they just blatantly go ahead and allow it to happen.
This is Zach Collick in the back of a patrol unit.
I'm sorry, I will apologize for the sheriff's office. My apologies, but I don't know what else to say. You gotta know better.
This also reminds me of other cases.
You know what I think?
The police seemingly aren't following traffic laws. I'll link these above, and also.
Greetings, Crazy Horse Lady. Go ahead, brother.
I think that if that was like a retired cop, I'd almost think that some of this stuff is like set up, right? Because if that was a retired cop, why would he even sue? I mean, I could see him suing, but why not sue for like $1 or something to get them to change their things instead of going, well, the taxpayers aren't paying me anymore. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to jack with the police so that I can get the taxpayers to pay me another $80,000. I think if that dude's morals were in the right spot, he wouldn't have had the taxpayers pay him $80,000. He wouldn't have sued for money. He would have sued for a change of their policy.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm speaking out for. Because when you start taxing the people and using the people's tax money to fund your scheme, and you put an end to the scheme, guess what happens to the taxes?
So in the description.
Yeah, it does kind of exit on the Funeral Drive and Whitaker. Yeah. I like that. Hey, don't don't do anything unless there's somebody in the car. Looks like there's a female light truck standing on the passenger side. Would that get out there? I think so.
I don't see any emergency lights on, and it looks like that cop failed to use his turn signal at least twice. Just saying. My larger point is this. When we violate a traffic law, especially if it's something like extreme speeding, the cops make a big deal out of it. But when the cops do this...
Right. If that would have been an officer behind somebody else doing that same thing, I dare say that they'd have gotten them for turning from an inside lane to an outside lane in an intersection, failure to use proper turn signal twice, maybe a couple others if they caught him without a seatbelt or something. You know, all good things for officer safety to be concerned about for officer safety use in the future when they do pull over, so you can remove them from the car and do an illegal search. Just because of your insane need for quotas and a promotion for doing that which you think is going to be portrayed as a hero. Great work, gentlemen. Great work.
Same thing, they don't tend to make a big deal out of it. At least in this case, something was done about it. But again, would anything have been done about it if there was no crash, if the cop was just speeding?
Would there have been anything done about it? I say no, because it's still not being done about it. Not as much as it should be.
I have a question for you. Hey, Keith, do you think that the police should be unionized?
Not at all. Again, I think the police should be like any other educated class of workers, where they have a proper education to do so, and then they're supplied with the proper materials to do so as equitable as possible, because they are in fact a community service. And so for community concern and budgeting reasons, I would hope to make sure that the people would be confident in those people and therefore be willing to pay them a decent pay, but not something so exorbitant that they're going to be able to make 3 times their normal salary by faking overtime records. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just the criminal activities they take out upon people physically or anything like that by false arrests and false traffic citations, but the other bookend part where they're being paid absorbently and they're Skyping funds that way as well, not just through using the laws against you in the courts and stuff, but on their payrolls. Everything is so over budgeted and maxed out to use your dollar for their benefit, while you believe your taxes are paying for a benefit. Show me where the benefit is.
It's not a benefit towards us, especially in that unionization, right? Because then they actually have like that union rep, or if they do something, even the people, or let's just say the state or the federal branch has to go through the union. There's a buffer between them and the police that can come in there and claim attorneys or do whatever to block the process of, I guess in some way for lawful. It's really weird, right? Because it's like attorneys and lawful. I just was wondering about the union, because I don't think they should have that as a I don't want to say a welfare worker, but someone that's under the tax dollars, having that unionization of claiming.
Correct. It's already under a certain type of governmental contract as it goes to the social contract of protection, providing domestic tranquility and national security and stuff, national defense. But in that, again, we see the social conditioning that I mentioned, that these people, I honestly believe that they have an enchantment going into these positions and believing that someday they're going to be some little boy or girl's hero, or save somebody's life in this. And that's all grandeur and stuff, and I appreciate that. But the simple fact of the matter that I see, again, redundantly, systemically, across the board, in all capacities, whether they be judges, lawyers, police officers, bankers, even the everyday um, chain shop owners, like Starbucks or McDonald's, so corporately regulated under a certain types of contract law that people don't comprehend. When you get involved in that system, you're being treated as if though you're the contractor, which is automatic liabilities. And this is so far from a good government, again, that is supposed to be founded on the family structure and everybody watching each other. Grandma and grandpa help take care of the grandchildren, and therefore there's no need for either retirement homes or kindergartens or public educations. It's all done internally. Family culture is inherently provided through its own necessity, the need for its own grammar, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And this is so far gone, and everybody believes every word that these books of history and government tell them. And it's all false.
Hey, Keith, do you think people should be shamed for living at home after they're 18? Or
Absolutely.
living in their mom and dad's house or whatever? You think they should be shamed for that?
Absolutely not. I think what should happen is they should feel the shame themselves, no matter where it comes from, and that it necessarily shouldn't take family to do it. If that being is brought up in a good quality family that inherently embeds that nature of being able to get along and communicate properly without getting emotional about things, and understanding the stone foundation of using the base principles rather than some kind of popularity contest of being the older brother or youngest daughter, or the favorite uncle, whatever. Even in those family dichotomies, we have to be aware of this and understand that there's a value that can be learned from everybody. And it's the simple fact of that one little adage: Mama said there two heads are better than one. In that, a whole family heads put together is always better than any single one. In that, any single one that falls out of line, it may even take that whole family to put that one back in line, but it should be kept more common path along the way, so it doesn't veer out of line. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We've got a society that has this patriarch professing this national defense and domestic tranquility and general welfare and everything, and they can't provide it. And we know this because we're reviewing shit like this. This is proving that it's being used against us, and it is not for our domestic tranquility. It's in fact escalating it, and it is not for our general welfare. It's the abuse of our welfare.
Because I think that that's a thing too when you're talking about conditioning. Because I think it may be just in this country, but there may be some other countries. It's like, man, when you're 18, you need to move out. You're still living with your parents. Something's wrong with you. When it's actually like you're saying, that family unit is a strong unit, and if everybody comes together, because I think that to a certain point, just my beliefs, like if you marry or you want to start your own family, maybe you could separate somewhat from your paternal family in some aspect, but that in this country, they try to shame you in some way where the person would be like, no, I don't live with my mom. My mom lives with me. You know what I mean? To try to claim that, I take care of my parents, where in that aspect, it's the family should take care of the family.
Yeah, we'll go down to the Philippines and even Hawaiian Islands and check them out. A lot of them have 4 or 5 generational families living in one setting. So you have not just children living with mom and dad, but they're living with grandma and grandpa, great grandma and grandpa, great grandpa and great grandma, and great great grandpa or great great grandma. So What people don't understand about that, I don't know. But that to me seems like a very strong, independent family that doesn't even need a nation. It stands by itself and it's evident. It's observable. You can see they don't need daycares and public education, retirement homes, special villages where the old folks all go to live together. That's
I have a
not how
question.
that's not how the education from the old folks trickles down. If you separate them from the rest of the population, where are you going to get your education? From the bottom up? I've heard it said that that's how the law flows from some idiot. The law
Keith,
flows from the bottom up. Huh?
Keith, do you see that comment you have? It says, would you put that back up there? It said, hell no, the kid did not ask to be brought into this world. How does that person know that? I mean, how do they not know that somewhere else in just the spirit or whatever that child or that person did not ask to be brought here, that somewhere they did not submit to that to actually be brought here, to claim that they come and go as they please because they didn't ask to be brought into this world? Then how did they get here?
Well, the first one was Satan, and he wanted to rule heaven. So God kind of separated and said, "Hey, you want to rule earth, and show me you can rule men first. I think their good faith is more powerful than yours." That's the way I interpret it, anyway. I may be wrong, but Bad Barney makes a good point, because when it comes to that age thing, think about this: what about the younger ones that don't mature at the same rate? I mean, wouldn't it make sense then, in that sense, that if a young man matured enough that he could go out, like you see in many tribes, at the age of maybe 13 or 14 and hunt his first little peccary or something, that's one of them drawn lines of manhood for one of those tribes. So where do we draw that line? Is it based solely on whether he's 18 and he's still living at home with mom and dad? What if he's got a condition, physically or mentally, that doesn't allow him to live on his own? What happens when he turns 59 and his 79-year-old mother, who he's still living with, all of a sudden dies? Where does he go then? Is the younger generation going to start taking over and help take care of him? I mean, people like that tend to get dismissed.
That's where it comes up to. For some reason in my mind, I'm thinking that Darwinism, right? When they claim that, it's survival of the fittest, it's like, well, then that person just gets pushed out because there's an abnormality in that outlier. So they get pushed out. So the strong survives. Where I don't know if this would be a socialist.
But see, that's where humanity, as we call ourselves, humankind, mankind, human, our humanity is what separates us from the animals. We have the ability to take care of those. We have the comprehension to observe the world around us and be able to still provide for their special needs. Some of them, their special needs take up more time than our own needs. So we're still able to provide it. It's a gamut of different things that people are willing to do for their neighbor. Oh, no man anything but to love one another, recognizing their humanity, not their race or their species. That's what gives us dominion. And yet we can't even prove it, because we're still arguing about whether we're Italian or American or United States citizen or resident. We don't recognize the spiritual connection, that it doesn't matter. We have this spiritual thing that says we can do better, and we see it and observe it. We actually do it, but that doesn't get as much attention as the drama and the chaos. Sad.
It's that bad boy, homie, over
you start me on medic behind that. Hey, from plain pain to the back.
Welcome back to the Lackluster channel. In May of 2018.
Yep, go subscribe. Lackluster on YouTube. Lackluster. Cop runs over man and lies about it. $6 million suit. I don't know if I'd settle for $6 million. That's when you watch this video, just think. I mean, what value system are we talking about? You know, what's it mean to you? How much are you willing to put up? How much evidence do you need, people?
Andy Martin was with friends at the Eastridge Mall when the men had a dispute with a security guard over being too loud. Security staff later claimed that the men threatened to shoot and stab them, but reported that no weapons were seen as the men were trespassed from the mall. After leaving, the men tried to catch a bus, and the security staff called the San Jose Police Department. After missing the bus, Andy began walking home using a nearby bike trail. Officer Ribeiro was the first to spot the men and pursued Andy, driving his cruiser onto the bike trail.
No, you don't say. Now we have an officer that's going to drive on the bike trail. See, they think the law is for thee and not for me. That's their thoughts. I can drive on the bike rail because I've got special circumstances. I'm an officer and I think this guy's a criminal, and I'm going to use excessive force in an unreasonable manner, way off the scale of my authority, but I'm going to get this job done.
Cups him up.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
How many weapons on you?
Is he searching him?
Flip the other way.
Yep.
The other way.
Rolling him all over. And pay attention to what they say later on, you know, after they realize something's wrong. Well, we got to be careful how we move him. No, not anymore.
Stay right there.
Andy isn't going anywhere. According to a lawsuit, Andy suffered severe injuries after being rammed in the back with the police cruiser, but the back bruising would be the least of his troubles, as the officer also ran over Andy twice, once over his pelvis and again over his ankle. Of his troubles, as the officer also ran over Andy twice, once over his pelvis and again over his ankle. Of his troubles, as the officer also ran over Andy twice, once over his pelvis and again over his ankle.
My legs hurt. My legs hurt. Can you go on my back, please?
I'll call an ambulance for you right now, okay?
Okay, fine.
Charles 3, 110, 15 on the bike path behind you now.
Oh.
He's just now calling for an ambulance.
Yeah, I don't understand why when people claim, hey, if you call for defunding the police, it'll be even worse off for people. Because, like, people see that and go, let's defund these idiots, right? And then they're like, no, you're a bad person by claiming you don't want to fund that. I don't get it.
Yeah, and it's amazing that people scream about defunding the police. I mean, this is what they're screaming for, is that police continue doing this. And this isn't the end of it. I got more videos. Like, I could go all fucking night on this.
I know, and that, you know, that's what's really weird too, is because it's not actually like defunding, let's say, the pay. It's like defunding their idiocy, like that dude, and what it's going to cost the people to make that person, like you said, whole or whatever, if that
Yeah,
could ever be done.
Yeah, he's only suing for $6 million. Holy shit. Ran over his pelvis and his ankle. Twice. Ran him over twice.
Please, hold me on my back.
You need to sit up?
Yeah.
All right. Tuck your legs underneath you. I'll sit up. Come on, sit up.
Remember I said earlier about how it seemed like a very deranged, psychotic woman scorned, going after an ex? That's the insanity. Where do you get the authority to do this kind of shit, people?
You want to sit up? You want to lay down or sit up, brother? You want to sit up? My back, please. All right, I'm trying to hold you still, brother. On my back, on my back, on my back. You need to lay down? Your back? All right, there you go.
It took nearly 3 minutes for the rookie officer to call for a medic, who will soon deny that Andy was run over.
Charles 3, start me a medic behind in and out. And I'm code 4 over here, in and out. Hey, firm, playing the thing to the back. Constant breathing now.
Emergency medicine protocols in California have vastly differing dispatch protocols for various calls. Andy is suffering from a possibly life-threatening injury, commonly referred to as auto versus pedestrian. This would normally tell dispatchers to send an advanced life support ambulance, who would then transport the patient to a certified trauma center. But instead of hailing for the correct emergency response, the officer is already attempting to cover up his own crime by telling dispatch that the patient was merely complaining of back pain.
Hey, firm, playing the thing to the back. Constant breathing now.
Prompting dispatch to send a basic life support rescue. These ambulances are not equipped with the proper interventions or staff to handle a casualty as severe as Andy.
You got ID?
3, commonly referred to as auto versus pedestrian. This would normally tell dispatchers to send an advanced life support ambulance, who would then transport the patient to a certified trauma center. But instead of hailing for the correct emergency response, the officer is already attempting to cover up his own crime by telling dispatch that the patient was merely complaining of back pain.
Hey, firm, playing the thing to the back. Constant breathing now.
Prompting dispatch to send a basic life support rescue. These ambulances are not equipped with the proper interventions or staff to handle a casualty as severe as Andy. Commonly referred to as auto versus pedestrian. This would normally tell dispatchers to send an advanced life support ambulance, who would then transport the patient to a certified trauma center. But instead of hailing for the correct emergency response, the officer is already attempting to cover up his own crime by telling dispatch that the patient was merely complaining of back pain.
Hey, firm, playing the thing to the back. Constant breathing now.
You know, speaking of, Tribe makes a very good point. At the Tribe, they run the crime rackets and have civil asset forfeiture. They don't need your funds. Correct. And I did a video on this a while back. I think I even did a review of it as well. So I think there's 2 videos on it. Columbia University Press put out an article of 100 years of the Trading with the Enemy Act, how statutes change, or something like that. And they literally tell us in there that the United States, the corporate entity United States, under the Trading with the Enemy Act, is in fact the New World Order, and it is fomenting the Trading with the Enemy Act during times of peace on domestic soil against the American people through asset forfeiture. Again, that's that Fourth Amendment violation. You know, even towing a truck, they're supposed to have certain ways of being able to do that, and a letter marquee is not one of them. I am not a slave of these guys. I am a slave of Jesus. LOL. Rocky Shepherd says so. Great. Glad they don't. Next time they sued, they can pay the bill. See, and that's part of it. Learning how to, instead of taking from the public coffers of the tax funds to pay these lawsuits out, we need to start going after those asset forfeitures of the ones that are actually committing the crimes and get it from them at all means first, before any kind of dipping into the public coffers.
So that would make what Tribe said about the civil asset forfeiture, they need to like revamp that, right?
Oh no, it works perfect for them. I'm sure Tribe will agree. It works perfect. That's the way they want it.
No, I'm just saying that it should be revamped where that civil asset forfeiture comes from those that, like that guy who ran that dude over, instead of the taxpayers paying that mistake. It comes from the civil asset forfeiture of that police person.
Right, I agree. But so far, that's not done. That's what I'm calling for. The civil asset forfeiture shouldn't come from the public coffers. It should come from the guy that committed the crime to the fullest extent. So if he has an estate that can cover it, then you get it from his estate, or multiples. You know, you got multiple conspiracies that work together. Yeah, the bonds. See, it's all paper bonds. I told you, it's all the record. It's the paperwork and everything. And all they're doing is flipping numbers and digits. If you knew how it worked, you'd know how to flip that one digit. So anyway, we're back onto the video. And again, minimizing for us, in regards to the necessary response medics, and maximizing for themselves.
Hey, Keith, can I ask you one question before you start this again?
That's not the proper use of the resources available. Go ahead.
What do you believe this person should actually be, I want to say, charged with? This policeman, by what he's doing, what do you believe should he be charged with or happen to him by his actions of this, his attitude towards what he did?
Well, according to the other one, the one in Arizona earlier, they got him for assault and battery. But I think this far extends that. And again, it comes down to, I don't agree with the assault and battery as being reckless. I think it was intentful. But certainly that's the way they explain it. He was reckless. And then the same here, he's got all kinds of officers around and nobody saw nothing. Remember, that's a common one too. I didn't see nothing. So we really have to put this into context and understand that somehow, overbearingly, these people that profess that they're doing this to be heroes are far from any kind of hero.
Prompting dispatch to send a basic life support rescue. These ambulances are not equipped with the proper interventions or staff to handle a casualty as severe as Andy.
You got ID on you, man?
It should be noted that Officer Ribeiro was a rookie with less than 2 years of service under his belt. He was also the police academy's top recruit.
What's your name? Okay, I'm calling an ambulance for you right now, man. What's your name?
Oh, you guys run me over.
Top recruit. This is your top. This is the top recruit. Okay? Yes, it should definitely be a tort. And that's how you get that asset forfeiture. Common law tort. You're not you're not using an administrative system to pay them for it. You're using a common law system built on a justice system of your peers, a jury of your peers. And they will convene at their convenience through proper diplomatic channels of communication. Hey, this guy committed a crime. Oh, really? We have an interest in that because we live in the same community. We want to be safe. We need to help determine if this is a real criminal action or if somebody's lying, which is another crime.
What's your name, man? Yeah, I'm good. Just keep somebody over here with me.
Help me. My back hurts.
Ambulance is coming on its way right now, man.
Which, of course, are those small lies that are used to cover up huge crimes. No one ran you over. Call a low-call medic, low-response medic, after you ran him over twice.
As others arrive on scene, not a single officer asks what happened to cause Andy to become injured.
Charles Street, only 2 people ran from Capital Expressway. Ambulance is on its way right now. Do you want to lay down or sit up?
I can't lay down on my hands.
Do you want to lay down on your side?
I can't.
Okay, all right.
Oh, my ankle broken.
I'm calling an ambulance for you right now, man.
Oh, you run me over. Oh.
No response when that other officer was around. You asked him when that other officer was standing there, why'd you run me over? No response.
What's your name? No, I don't have an ID. What's your name?
Danny.
What's your name, man? Danny? What's the last name, Danny? Danny Martin? What's your birthday, Danny? What's that? What's your birthday, Danny? Danny, what's your birthday?
Back hurts.
Danny, what's your birthday? Danny, what's your birthday?
Back hurts.
Ambulance is coming right now.
I can feel it. Don't run me over.
Do you want to lay on your side?
My leg hurts.
Danny, what's your birthday?
I can't pee. Help.
Danny, what's your birthday?
Help me.
I'm trying to help you, man.
I can't. My leg hurts. It's broken.
No, he's not trying to help you. He can't help you. He only needs information that he's going to use against you. How much evidence do you guys need?
Charles, we put her a partial party.
Eventually, Officer Rivero begins volunteering unrequested information.
So I'm right behind him, and then he stops right in front of me, and my front tire caught his leg. Okay.
Oh, and now he says my front tire caught his leg.
Danny, what's your birthday? Yeah.
As a result of an internal affairs investigation and lawsuit, Officer Rivero claimed he was simply trying to cut off Martin, not strike him.
Boom. What's it, reverse?
He also claimed that Martin suddenly jumped in front of the car, and only later did he admit that he felt something go under his right tire. However, while on scene, the officer lied, denying that Andy was run over at all.
Nobody ran you over, dude.
An unreleased body cam shows that after the collision, the officer then put the vehicle in reverse.
Right on his heels. The vehicle. These are your heroes. See, it's not the gun. And it's not the vehicle. How much evidence do you need?
And stopped again. Andy claims that his ankle was ran over when the officer reversed, but the fact is disputed.
Ambulance on his way right now, man.
Where's that gun you threw, dude? Where's it at? Want some kid to find it?
Dude, you're reaching in your waistband over there.
See, they didn't see nothing except him reaching into his waistband and supposedly throwing something, right? But they didn't see nothing.
Where's your gun at?
Oh, you ran me over?
You got charges, dude. Some kid picks that up and killed himself.
You got charges, dude. What are they? Possession of a firearm that you can't find? Possession of drugs or narcotics that you can't find? Or is that something you're going to plant later? Oh, we found it over here.
Is that their training?
Not just your head.
No weapons were ever found.
I have no idea. I wouldn't think it would be. Do you? I mean, if you're training young men to be moral and ethical people enforcing a law, you would think they would both know the law and uphold it. But it doesn't seem to be true in any case.
I have a question, though. I mean, maybe I should look this up, but since it got brought up and the tribe brought it up, it's like, what is a tort and how this is playing out? It's like, what is a tort and how that should be?
A tort is an actual criminal law for property theft. And when you understand the term property, it is literally the right of enjoyment, of possession and use of a thing for your benefit. So even if they steal something intangible like your name and use it on a document, there's a, yeah, there we go. It's a breach of duty or law that results in the injury. So you have a duty to your fellow man to operate in good faith and fair dealings in a societal structure. That's the social compact. And if you breach that, you can be accused of committing a tort if it results in an injury. No remedy in law or equity, so the award is money. So that's why he filed the $6 million suit, but he didn't do it as a tort. He filed it as a lawsuit, which is still different. It operates in the commercial administrative system, whereas again, I think if he did it under the right structure of common law before a jury of his peers, he'd ended up with much more. Yep. And that's what I said was reckless, because you could argue that he did it intentionally specifically because he's like on a bike path or on the sidewalk where they obviously don't belong, and they obviously aren't trained to do that, and they obviously aren't trained to use a motor vehicle to chase down defendants or suspects or anything like that, let alone people they have absolutely no charges against.
Where's it going? What did I punch, dude?
Well, my cousin's gonna die anyway.
Well, how is you don't care about yourself? How before you get that fight?
Yeah, I can't feel my body. I got a name, that's it. Name, no birthday yet.
Oh,
I can't breathe. Here, lean on your side. Lean on your side, man. Lean on, pick a side. Pick a side to lean on. Left or right side.
I can't.
And see, an officer telling you this again, where's his medical license to tell you how to do that? See, I've got a couple books in front of me. Hold up, guys. Hold up. Hold up. Oh, okay. Telling you. Okay. Pull me up. Get my screen. See, I've got a couple books, and they're older ones, 12th edition. What year was it? (2012). So about 13 years old, but nice throwaways that somebody else threw away. Emergency care. Both a workbook and a textbook. Now, the nice thing about this is what makes me wonder about these officers and their knowledge, not only of the law, but of emergency care, because they're required as first responders to know emergency care. And this is the workbook alone.
You think that they would be needing just basic, right? Just the basic.
512 pages. You would think it would be basic. But if you think about emergency care, we ain't talking simple Boy Scout stuff in these major accidents and stuff most of the time. This is why everybody's screaming for doctors. Emergency care book itself, 1,284. So we literally have a workbook that's just a little over a third of the entire text of the book itself. And so when I think about these officers and knowing the law in my last 10 years of research and having the books that I have before me, and the things I've learned, I know myself firsthand. And this is why I say, don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. And it is an extensive research. And I'm hoping that I can help lead people in the right direction in certain questions that they might have. Because I think if they did do their research in some of the things that they have questions about, rather than just depending on sources that are already there and picking and choosing. That's what a lot of people will do. And this is one of those things in the 12-step program. Everybody tried to convince me I needed to pick a sponsor. And the problem with picking a sponsor is the same concept I have with picking a president. Because in my mind, it's better to get opinions and views from all kinds of perspectives and in objective realities so that I can better discern what is best for me, because in that I'm going to be able to discern what's actually best, rather than having two products and thinking this one's best, but in fact the other one's best. I now have an entire aura, and this is what they use for your markets, and they use it against you. Your shampoos, soaps, things like that. You have so many to choose from that you think you're going to get the best one, but you end up still going through everything and picking and choosing a new one, looking for the best, because you still think there's something better out there.
I have a
So,
question for you.
yep.
I hope this isn't going to be weird, but it's like doing research. So why do you have private property on your wall? And if you move your head a little bit, we can see that sign under it. What is that behind you
Right.
on the wall?
Oh, that's private property, and it says shh, and then it's got a stick figure laying on a bed with some Z's up on top. It says in a meeting.
Okay.
And I didn't know what you were talking about at first. Then I had to realize, oh yeah, I put signs up back there. So yeah, let's get back into it. As we look more at, the minimizing and maximizing to their benefit of everything throughout the system. They minimize the amount of tax that you're paying, saying you're getting so much for it, by maximizing what you're supposedly getting, when in fact it's so wasteful and abusive. It's literally fraud. Yet you can't really call it fraud, because everywhere along the way it's going to be considered reckless or incompetence or negligence rather than willful intent.
Listen, here's the problem. Hey, listen. If your back is hurting, we don't want to move you too much, all right? Just keep breathing, relax, okay? Oh, no, it's slow speed. I'm right behind him. I go around to try and cut him off. He cuts back the other way, hits the front of my car, and then stops right here.
The tribe says, is the El Perro channel the best because it has great content or fun guests? And then in parentheses, he's got false dichotomy. No, I don't profess it to be the best. I always hope that it'll keep getting better. And that is always evidence, both of the great content and the fun guests that show up and gather in larger and larger groups. It's not about me, and it's not even about you or the numbers. It's about the content, which is a message. I hope everybody's getting it. Please wake up. You do have a certain accountability here, and that is to hopefully one day to start learning more on your own by doing your own observations outside of what you've been indoctrinated into.
About 10 minutes into the incident, medics arrive on scene.
I agree. I know what you're talking about.
2 miles an hour. What's your name? He's saying his leg hurts. What's hurting you? Not even to walking speed. Yeah, we don't have much.
Fortunately, the medics realized the injuries were far worse than what the officers were attempting to play them off as. They spent the next 15 minutes stabilizing Andy on scene before transporting him, immobilizing his head, neck, back, pelvis, and legs. After witnessing the amount of medical care Andy,
which they weren't prepared for, and the other team, which would have been more than likely and most probably would have done it much quicker, efficiently, and of course with more expertise and maybe gentleness or whatever. Don't know, but that certainly wasn't granted because the cop was simply trying to cover his ass.
Required just to be transported, his story began to change.
Did you get any time ever? Yeah, I believe the right tire went over my ankle or leg, I'm not sure. So the cuffs, you're going to have to go on the front or get on up the board? I'd like to come to the board if possible. I got a set of leg irons.
An internal investigation concluded that Officer Ribeiro was at fault for the collision, but rather than charge him with a crime, he was disciplined internally by receiving oral counseling, the lowest form of discipline possible. Andy sued for unlawful seizure, excessive force, battery, negligence, and the Bain Act. The city fought the lawsuit for several years, but the court finally concluded that a jury could find that Ribeiro intentionally used his vehicle as force, and that because the fact...
Bingo. And see, that's what I've been stating all along. If they can get him on intent, that's where it lies. So finally they got somebody on intent, as I've been pointing out, because it's not the first time. And I think people need to wake up and see it for what it is. It is intentful.
Hey, who gets to fight it? I mean, when they say it was fought for like years or whatever, it's like, who gets to fight that? Who's actually fighting that? That dude should be laid on the ground, ran over, and not be compensated for anything.
See, that's the ones that are co-signing for him to be an officer in the first place. They put themselves in that position, and now in order to make sure he's the one that gets thrown under the bus, and them not lose their job, they now have to co-sign and go for the suit, allow for the suit. But in that, they still have to try to save their ass along the way. So that's what all that is about. It's about each one maneuvering the case so it never implies them, no matter how connected they are to the officer. See, and that's the problem. It's not just back to blue until it happens to you. You're the one funding everything. And until you realize that, you won't see the people that are actually behind the scenes. It's that Oz behind the curtain that's pulling all the levers. It's the commissions and the city councils and your mayors and all your local leaders right under your nose.
Showed that A, no weapon was ever confirmed, B, no threat to public safety existed, C, backup officers were present on scene, and D, that intentionally using a vehicle to run a man over is a threat of death or serious bodily harm, that his actions could be viewed as excessive force. The judge then denied qualified immunity and set the case for trial. After years of resistance, the city lost in court when a federal jury awarded Andy $6 million. Yet the city still shielded Officer Ribeiro through indemnification, passing the entire cost to taxpayers and allowing the
Through indemnification, pass the entire cost on to taxpayers. See, now is the time to go back to the city and say, now we're going to sue you because you unlawfully appropriated our funds to pay for our victimization or our victimization. That should come out of him, his family, his assets, and anybody else that was involved.
officer to avoid any personal responsibility. It appears that Officer Ribeiro is still employed as a law enforcement officer. Despite his blatant lies on scene, he is not on the Brady list.
Imagine that. Despite his blatant lies, and he's not even on the Brady list.
I have a question.
Sure.
I hope these questions aren't getting on your nerves, but why would the city do that? Why would the city cover him to pass it all on to the taxpayers who voted them or put them in? It's like, why would they do that? Why?
Because like I said, if they do it by the proper process, they don't go after the public coffers. They go to the criminals. And these officers are being supported by another organization. So once the officer's down, if there's any need for any more compensation, because the officer couldn't provide the $6 million, so now you go after the other people that were involved. See, it enforces a system where you go to all of the people that are actually criminals, not just the ones that are thrown under the bus by the better criminals. Greetings, Russ.
Greetings. Am I working?
You are.
How you guys doing?
We are well. We're getting ready to look over our last video here. Show you how absurd this shit is.
Oh, yeah, we already know. Well, go ahead. Let's get it.
So this last one is undercover cameras catch highest overtime earning NOPD officers at home. And this is from WVUE Fox out of New Orleans.
$903. That's how much the NOPD's highest overtime earner was paid overall in 2024, nearly $250,000, paid to Sergeant Henry Burke. To put that in perspective,
Almost $250,000. His head is so fat, we know where he's spending the money. How is this guy an officer making $245,903.53 a year on a salary with overtime, and he can't even pass a physical test. There's no way this man can get down and do push-ups. There's no way this man can run and chase me.
He's working for the criminal syndicate, the Federal Reserve.
As an NOPD police sergeant, Burke's regular salary is just more than $83,000 a year. But according to documents Fox 8 obtained, last year he rang up more in overtime than his base salary, $121,000 in OT. And he's not alone. In 2024, 23 NOPD officers clocked more in overtime than their base salary. The majority of those are senior police officers, like Brandon Coleman, who nearly tripled his $64,000 base salary with overtime. In all, Coleman collected more than $217,000 last year.
This is what he's supposed to get paid, $64,759.70. And that's damn fucking good pay.
It doesn't look like it takes much agility by the size of him.
Fucking amazing shit.
Here.
Follow the money. Follow the money. When you have officers.
Think about it. Granted, there are crimes that they could keep busy with, perhaps, but I think they're far overstaffed, and that most of them just simply drive around in parking places, sitting there watching and observing, and don't really do whole lot. Most of their activity is traffic citations and trespasses and things like that. You know, little minor bullshit argument type things that really shouldn't even be of their affair. And yet, can you imagine a delivery driver that would make $65,000 a year, drive around doing deliveries?
They start going over 160, 180, $200,000. It is extremely difficult to get there.
Forensic scientist and NOPD watchdog Skip Gallagher has been tracking NOPD overtime for years. He believes some officers on the force could be padding their timesheets.
The pay records scream this. They absolutely scream this. Every time an officer clocks over 200,000, if they're not in the command structure, we should have questions about them and what they're doing with their time.
Fox 8 took an in-depth look. On July 13th, our undercover camera captured Henry Burke getting into a vehicle at 2:54 p.m., then driving away 1 minute later. However, his timesheet that day indicated he clocked in nearly a half hour before that, at 2:30. Burke lives outside of Orleans Parish. A typical trip from his house to his NOPD station takes about 25 minutes. 2 days later, our camera captured Sergeant Burke returning home at 6:54 in the morning, 6 minutes before he clocked out of his shift. The next day, July 16th, Burke left his home at 3:02 in the afternoon, more than 30 minutes after clocking in for his shift. During an interview with NOPD Chief Ann Kirkpatrick last week, she indicated officers traveling home should not be on the clock.
What constitutes an officer off the clock? Is it when they get home, or is it when they leave?
No,
the
when they
parish?
leave, their duty hour has come to an end, they're off duty, and then they have take-home vehicles, so they drive home. They're not on duty while they're driving home.
On September 24th, our undercover camera captured Sergeant Burke loading a K-9 into a vehicle. Then he pulled off at 2:55, again, nearly a half hour after he clocked in, and with at least a 25-minute drive ahead before he could arrive to his district for his more than 16-hour shift.
What disturbs me is that I have warned the department for more than 5 years that this is going on. And
5 years this has been going on.
What disturbs me is that I have warned the department for more than 5 years that this is going on.
An hour shift.
What disturbs me is that I have warned the department for more than 5 years that this is going on. What disturbs me is that I have warned the department for more than 5 years that this is going on, and we still have this problem. You need to put credible resources towards fixing this problem.
Credible resources towards fixing this problem.
Credible resources or
Yeah.
creditable human resources.
I question that too. You need to put credible people in proper appropriation of those resources with a solution firsthand.
Wonder why that lady was sitting there in such a command position of so-called peace officers or law enforcement, whatever you want to hell call them.
I want to ask if anybody's ever heard that when like you bring up a thing and then somebody goes, "Hey, don't worry, it's not your money." You know what I mean? It's almost like it seems like that's the thing. It's like, "Oh, don't worry
Yep.
about it." It's like it's not your money. You're not having to pay for it. Just do it.
Well, it seems the Federal Reserve is nothing more than a banking cartel that funnels the money through the realty trust and the court systems. I mean,
Yep.
it's basically what it is in a nutshell. It's nothing more than a banking cartel run by an organized crime syndicate, which means some family and some bloodline.
Yep, using bonds.
Their senior police officer, Brandon Coleman. Remember, Coleman nearly tripled his salary by working overtime last year, taking him from a base pay of about $64,000 to more than $200,000. According to NOPD payroll records, last year, on 146 different days, he claimed to work 16 hours or longer. Fast forward to July 22nd of this year. Coleman's initial timesheet indicated he worked a 16-plus hour shift from 6:25 in the morning until 11 that night. But our camera didn't capture him getting into his unit until 10:08 a.m., hours after he clocked in that day. The next day, he's clocked in for what he initially claimed was another 16-hour day on his timesheet from 6:25 in the morning until 11 at night. But our video shows he didn't leave until 8:11 in the morning. Then on July 28th, Coleman discovered our undercover camera. Then, on July 29th, the next day, Coleman clocked in at 6:25 in the morning, but didn't leave his home until 7:41 a.m., more than an hour later. His NOPD SUV returns that evening at 6:37, but he didn't clock out until 7 p.m. The next day, nearly the same thing. Coleman clocked in at 6:25, but our camera showed he left more than an hour later at 7:48.
That is really disturbing. And it's really disturbing also, compounding the fact that we are in such a budget crisis and that
Compounding the fact that we are in such a budget crisis. No, you're not. No, you're not. See, the budget crisis is they can't figure out how to get more money from you to cover up their crimes. This is a mayor. Don't let them fool you that they don't know how the government security bonds work. They're dependent on the residents in the neighborhood, in their communities, and that's whose name they go in.
every cent matters at this point. And so
Every
to see
cent
any level
matters.
of abuse is incredibly disturbing and something that the chief has to handle.
New Orleans.
Incredibly disturbing, yet he's been mentioning it for 5 years.
Well, what they done, they got rid of that Bureau of Mines that was running from 1910 to 1985, which was safety and efficiency. They shut that down in 1985 and created this whole fucking mayoral form of government and switched all of this shit around behind the scenes.
Yep.
Mayor-elect Helena Moreno says the overtime questions Fox 8 raised should be addressed immediately.
There is no room for abuse. There's just not. And so any abuse that is discovered has to be absolutely cut out. I've had conversations with the chief about overtime. I've had conversations with the chief about whether there's potential abuse. I have directed her that she needs to handle this and take care of eliminating any type of abuse of overtime.
During an interview with Chief Kirkpatrick last week, she indicated the Office of the Inspector General is currently auditing overtime across the department.
As I said, look at all of us, do a report, give me names of people that you see are indiscretion. This is not a witch hunt.
People that you see that are indiscretion. No, it's criminal. Stop downplaying it. It is criminal. To cook the books is fraud.
But it is
all
truly
criminal
to
activity.
close this out. Let's change how we are documenting all of that. So I'm just looking for a clean bill of health here, and I think that's the best way to get to it.
A lot of times people want to focus purely on the numbers, which are important, but the morale is also really important. And so and then the other thing is you don't want a system of, well, I see these men or women getting away with it, so now I'm going to start doing it.
New Orleans City Council member Joe Geruso believes it's essential to have a clean payroll within the NOPD to ensure the best officers aren't driven away.
You want to make sure, make sure the best officers aren't driven away.
The top of the class officer was the one that was committing the atrocities in the other one. Remember, he was top of the class. He was top officer. Those are the ones you want to keep. Come on, let's be more real about what we're looking at and what our expectations are. We want good officers that have the ability and fortitude to go by a moral, ethical standard that is pretty much objectively patent amongst the people to be relatively equal across the board. Let's stop this law is for thee and not for me shit.
Because I have a question too. It's like that chief of police, that lady that was claiming, hey, I want y'all to look, like she's like in a union also, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like amazing, like how these people are talking, but they're all within like the same union. So, they're not saying anything that's going to call anybody really into accountability.
Oh, that's why I say it's not their accountability. It's the accountability of the people, because it's the people that are putting those kind of people in positions like that.
I don't know if people's noticed or not, but I'm one that believes this is about the higher creation, God, and a man and a woman and a family. And it seems that these women are in these powerful positions now, and these men are cucked up to these women.
Absolutely.
Think about it. So they've hung you on the cross. You're Jesus that they're hanging on the cross.
I mentioned that earlier, and I don't think women should be in a large part of the government institution.
Well, I think a lot of the administrative because I believe that everything is designed as that one house grows, that one house has many houses within that one house. That one house is the representation that helps build all of those other houses up.
For various reasons, such as there are certain houses they should tend to first.
Correct.
So if a woman be in government, again, like I say with police, if a man be in the policing force, he should have a certain age of him with a certain education behind him. So if a woman be in politics, she should have a certain history about her, having a stable family and everything, just like the man. And this is one of the imperatives that the men have given up. They don't feel they need to have that high standard, and therefore they don't hold the police accountable when you should. Are they not the ones that should be held to a higher standard? And yet the American populace allows for Bill Clinton to suck on a cigar soaked in a pussy.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not talk about Trump talking about they like to be grabbed by the pussy, right?
But I've talked so
Come
much.
on, let's be real, folks.
I've talked so much in the last 2 weeks, my voice is about gone.
And shut up.
If people are following the rules, that's always the most important. But that B, if there is these overtime issues where you're pointing them out, that you have strong leadership taking that action where there are problems.
Gallagher believes the numbers should be enough to raise red flags and wants to see the department create genuine checks to ensure overtime isn't abused.
We don't have enough oversight. We really need to know.
You need one person to make sure in a book where you obviously have all of their salaries to make sure that, hey, this seems a little odd. No, we have 26 cases on one police force where the one watching those books never said a fucking word.
What is that officer doing for that overtime? Is it a positive thing? Are we getting something for our money? Because that overtime costs us a lot. And we need to know that we're getting something of value and they're actually doing something.
Moreno says even in the wake of a major city budget deficit, she understands overtime is a necessity and says while public safety is a top priority, the department must ensure its integrity isn't questioned because of
How is overtime a necessity? Explain to me how overtime is a necessity. That's my problem.
I'd like to know how it switched from safety and efficiency to public safety.
Well, when it comes down to the efficiency, I want to know why it's never been instituted. Because that goes again to the moral foundation that if you have a good police force, it has effect, and it's a good moral and ethical effect, and not a commercial imprisonment effect, where we have a large majority of men in prisons here on American soil, and that's the destruction of the family if nobody sees it. I mean, how are you going to have families if the men are all in prison?
That's what I was saying a minute ago about these women in these powerful positions. These women have put those men in jail to get rid of them.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm referring to. You see, women don't understand, or a lot of people. I can't say women. I can't say. What I can say, I think, is there's a great misunderstanding about feminism in that you have to realize, it's a full male government that decided to even put it to vote and then accept the vote and pass it. And that's what allowed an open forum for an open, diverse range of women to enter politics.
Remember
where many of them, again, were voted in because of popularity and what people thought they knew, because that's what they platformed. Is, I'm going to do this when I get into office. They ain't never had office experience before. How did they get into office? It had to have been on belief of what they could do and not about what they have done. And this is the problem. I think we have way too many people not having any record of what they can do. And the record of what they have done is fucking shit.
It's like that. I think that's absolutely, because it's like, even if you look at that guy's pay and go, he's making 200 and something, he should be making 60. Who's like managing and going, okay, let's hire another person. We're still only paying $112,000 compared to 200 and something because we're paying this guy triple overtime. It's like that management in there is just lacking.
Remember, Keith, I told you when about them supposedly killing that guy, Charles Combs, in 1983, who was the banking commissioner and the chairman of the Board of Regents, head of the curriculum.
Right.
Okay, then the woman governor was Kentucky in 1983 or 84. 85 is when they took away the Bureau of Mines that was running from 1910. They shut it down in 1985, and it went to the public side. They took control of the bank and the prophecy and everything, and what we teach our children.
And while I understand that, at the tribe says past performance is no guarantee of future returns. Correct. But if we have a pattern of practice in past performance and we have no return, and it's actually costing and inefficient and against the morals and ethics and all of these standards that we're supposed to be upholding, then there is certainly a problem that needs to be resolved.
what I think they're using against the American people is the Foreign Affairs Manual. And what is that? FAM? That's family.
Yep. Well, let's finish this up and then we'll get final words.
Checked overtime.
I told the chief she needs to get, a real handle on what's going on with overtime in her department. And obviously what you're bringing forward, she needs to look at and review and, verify independently that all is accurate.
We reached out to Burke and Coleman about our findings. Both declined to comment. We also asked.
Of course, they don't want to give up their Fifth Amendment. Come on, be real.
Asked for an interview with Chief Kirkpatrick to discuss our specific findings about the officers, but her communications team told us she's out of town.
Of course, of course. Out of town on a vacation funded by you, the taxpayer. Good job, folks.
P.I.G. said its investigation into the NOPD's overtime policies is ongoing, writing in a statement, "We will continue to identify and mitigate fraud, waste, and/or abuse relating to city payroll, including NOPD overtime policies, procedures, and usage."
Great job. You will continue to do it. Will we continue to have any results, though? That is the question. What do you think, guys?
I think that it's the same as that guy going, nobody ran you over.
I think there's a big wake-up call coming for a lot of folk.
Well, I hope so. That's why I do this stuff.
I mean, I ask myself the question all the time, Keith, and you know how long I've been in this game. The thing that I question the most is how come they haven't came after me? If everything that I say is not true, how come they haven't put me away? I'll tell you why. They want to kill the spirit of God in that original son of the bloodline. This is about bloodline and families. They're trying to kill off the firstborn son of the original bloodlines and the daughters. Anybody that is enlightened with this information, you are a target by these people. You're the light that exposes the darkness that they do behind the scenes. And that's why they go after certain individuals. The purest of the bloodline is the target. Think about that one. And think about the blood running through your veins when you bring God in your mouths. See what I'm saying? And what's the number one sin in the Bible, as they say? Blasphemy. Now, what about somebody sit there and say they're a God-fearing man and come in here and rig the system like this from the inside out? Remember what you call it said, what, like in the 80s? They'll never get us coming across our borders, only from the inside. This is an inside job with families. That is a banking cartel. Yeah, and a contracted out mixed benefit system that they have flipped the tables into a contracted out mixed benefit scheme. And that acronym is Combs. Who's manning that Combs house?
And that's that social conditioning I was talking about to the false patriarch.
Mm-hmm.
At the tribe says people don't rise to expectations. They fall to their level of training. Train well. Yeah, and that's a good thing. But I hope people understand in your training, always push your bounds, no matter what your trainer says. Always push your bounds. And this is that innate knowing of self. No one else knows that. So you have to understand what your bounds are, recognize them, and push them. That's how you grow, in my opinion.
I know. I have something to say to that, if that's okay, real quick. Okay. It's like that thing that the tribe said. It's like, that's almost like the fight that I have within myself. Because when I see that kind of statement, people don't rise to their expectations. They fall to their training. It's like, even within myself, it's like, it's a mental, and like the other guest said, it's like a spiritual thing too. It's like, man, you can think all you want. It's almost like it's trying to fall in line with like those people who claim they're heroes and they go out there and they do all this stuff and then they jack everything up and they harm people. It's like, even within myself, it's like, man, I want to rise to this expectation that I have within myself. But then to find out that I just fall ultimately to the training that I have, it's like trying to find yourself within that where you can still pick yourself up and go, I can train better, or where is the fault within myself that I can be a better individual?
Right. I was just going to say discipline, and that discipline, like I said, is expanding your own boundaries, knowing where your boundaries are. People are conditioned to believe that there's an average, and that once they hit that average, they're good, which is okay in a lot of cases.
Would you
But
agree? Would you
but
agree,
when
Keith, that this?
but when it comes to talents, these are things that each individual knows what their own talents are, despite what they've been educated in. And if they don't have a way of expressing those talents, what I see is a frustration. And so people get locked up into frustration by a social conditioning because we're much more talented in the family structure. Go ahead, Russ.
Well, would you agree with this discipline? Because I agree with Tribe. Would you agree? Would you guys agree that the discipline comes from the balancing of the masculine and the feminine side within a man's mental competency, which
Man and woman's, yeah.
in both in both parties. So that would determine whether you're in a leadership role or you're in a caddy role. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's
And
all mental, and they're changing the frequencies, and a lot of it's frequencies too,
So do
because
you
it's
think
not
that's
balanced.
so do you think that's where my I guess roadblock would be, is because, let's say, I never knew my father, right? I never had one. So therefore, I was only raised by a mother. So do you think in that, where I want to rise to my own expectations, sometimes or all the time, I feel like somehow I failed, or I fell to some limitation that I had instead of where I felt I should be personally and spiritually and mentally.
right, we see that in psychology a lot today. The effeminization of men and the masculinity of women, masculinization of women, women having to take on both the paternal and maternal roles, so they become more masculine, have to take on a more a stronger disciplined place, and yet in their carrying capacity, despite the discipline, the males particularly that they bring up under that wing end up being more effeminate because they have that masculine feminine energy disciplining them, and the core caregiving coming from the same person. So there becomes a thing where I think psychologically a lot of people grow up with a mixed role, not realizing that the roles are already mixed and they're supposed to be brought up in certain roles according to their physical nature. I think this is why transgender has its issue today, trying to claim that they're women when they're not, and some women claiming that they're men when they're not. That's not the evidence.
I'm wondering.
So when you want to get into the semantics of gender and sex, there really is no difference because the correlation remains the same, the physical appearance. See, your sex and your gender isn't something internal. It is, in fact, external, and there are roles. Lion prides fill roles, and they're quite a bit different. The females are the ones that go out and catch the prey and provide the meal. Not so in mankind. Mankind, generally, they do both the protecting and the providing of the meals.
Because that man's going to protect his children at all cost.
Right. So we have to understand Again, a lot of people don't see the social conditioning. They think they're just part of this big happy society that is natural and effective because it's comfortable and convenient for them to be able to send their children off to somebody else to educate them.
Yeah. See, my research has got me thinking, you know, that they flipped the whole tables on the school system too, because I think originally, you know, a little child's going to follow his father around and want to hand him wrenches and learn from his father. And I believe the schools were put into play for these children, less fortunate children, without fathers, to give them some form of training and uh, chance in life. And they've come in and flipped all of that around and turned that into that benefit scheme to where they teach these people to be thinking they're men when they're women, and all that's crazy shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, it's Isaiah 54, sing though thou wast barren, and though thou did not travail, for there are more children of the desolate than there are of the married wife. And this is imperative to understand. It's actually speaking about adoption. And what we have here in today's modern society, I see, is that the people aren't adopting the children. It's a system that allows certain people to adopt children. And in that, it's a destruction of the family. I had, my father had 13 brothers and sisters. So I had 13 aunts and uncles on my dad's side. And my mom had 8 brothers and sisters. So I had 8 aunts and uncles on my mom's side. Yet all 5 of me, of us, myself and my 4 brothers and sisters, were all put up for adoption. With all of that family surrounding us, what happened to the family structure that we did not remain with such a large family? Why did such a large family fall apart? It wasn't
I
a
think
stable
so.
family. No matter
I
how
think
large it is, the family stability wasn't there. If it had been, me and my brothers and sisters would have never ended up in the foster care system. And the family stability is lost by patronymical nationality.
You know, what I'm learning about this whole family business now is, you know, they were bringing the Irish and a lot of people over here. And then these kids that were abused and everything that would grow up. And then these women were getting these children after these wealthy people died here. And they were taking these children and stealing inheritance and wills and everything else. This is a dirty, nasty thing.
Well,
going.
they did the same thing through various different types of adoptions themselves in taking over land. A lot of people would take and look up the old land patents and then change their last name and adopt the name of the land patent holder and say they were kin and come in and make a claim on it. Now the title's in their name, but they changed their name to get the title.
I think that it has to do. I think that it has to do with some reason why my brain's working. It has to do with like what you talk about, that enumeration at birth. It's like they can adopt children. I mean, even to take them away from their family, to send them off to war, to fight their war as their property or children for what their desires are instead of what their parents or their families' desires are.
Yeah, and that's why I keep trying to speak out about, you know, who's really got authority. I mean, when it comes to the nature of bearing offspring and the duty in that in a natural life under instinctual drives, what is it that allows a man to succumb to his ego and become part of a popularity contest in a society where they're socially conditioned and unwilling to accept it? It's the cognitive dissonance runs very deep in this. And that's because of man's wants and desires in this society of comfort and convenience. They're so willing to give up their children for it.
Oh, you know, I look at that a little different. I don't think these men naturally give these children up. I think that they're targeted, and the women's got to get them out of there. You know, they get insurance policies on these men.
No,
They go and
I'm talking about a social conditioning that happens over time and time, and just constrictingly
yeah.
gets tighter and tighter. So
But
we
that's
end up
weakening
with
the bloodline.
so we end up with more and more men that won't stand up because they know or believe in their mind that they're already defeated by false claims and accusations that are supported left and right for decades against them.
Yeah.
So they end up bearing the weakness of a false mindset to begin with. The true attitude men should have is to never step down. That's your children. That's the purpose of your life, to carry on a legacy of a good, honest man. Nobody cares
It's
about
like
that
that.
anymore.
It's like that saying, like what the guy's avatar is. It's like, how do you boil a frog?
You can't.
Right?
He fully relies on God.
Well, you don't just throw him in the hot water. You put him in the cold water, and then you turn the heat up
slowly,
just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit at a time. It's like that same thing that I think that Keith is talking about. It's like over time.
Yeah, and that's
how
what I
they
was saying. It's weakened. It's weakened the bloodline of its original creation.
Yep. Well, anyway, the main message, folks, is it's really your accountability through the cognitive dissonance, social conditioning, societal norms and comforts and convenience, modern technology that makes it so much more comfortable and convenient, allowing for real men to give up natural duties as well as good duties, you know, taking hardships and making things in life hard and pushing those bounds to show that we're not dependent upon society, but can be independent men and bring up independent families that are strong and self-survivalist, knowing that they have their own agreement with nature and its laws and don't have to succumb to the industrialized corporate laws of a false patriarch. That's what we're really talking about. If you believe something like that has authority over you, then I will pray for you. You're the ones I call bitch ass slaves because you don't realize your instinctual drive, the id versus the ego. You're still involved in a popularity contest thinking you're going to die if you're not popular somewhere, if you don't fit in. Why are you supposed to fit in? Aren't we supposed to be unique and diverse so that we can overcome the things that befall others? Anyway, we're out, folks. I want to appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming up. Thanks, everybody in chat. Keep coming back. And remember, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. I say I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That part's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night.
Hold up, grab my soda cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape pape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes. Or a gorilla in a cape, it's the good shit. Just one hit, you so lit, you fall into a bit, non-bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation, with gross castration, skewed citations, by your intimation. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan. How you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation, with gross castration, in skewed citations, by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation. You're a cheap imitation. Dark said hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in a cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna click another hit of this good shit. And I'm already it, so take over, it's been done, baby.
Thank you for joining us at Personality Inventory Mockumentary Production.